What made this night feel so explosive was not just that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were seen in London, but how many different worlds seemed to collide in a single evening. While a lot of people in the United States were still busy debating why the couple skipped the Met Gala, Taylor and Travis were quietly moving through one of the most exclusive social circuits in London. Instead of making a loud public entrance somewhere obvious, they built an evening that unfolded in layers. An elegant dinner, a theater appearance with emotional meaning, and then a private celebrity party that reportedly stretched late into the night. That combination is what gives the story its charge. It was glamorous, intimate, surprising, and very revealing all at once. On the surface, it looked like a simple night out. But when you slow it down and look at every stop, it becomes a snapshot of the strange balance this couple has been trying to master ever since they became one of the most watched pairs in the world. They can be deeply visible and almost invisible at the same time. One moment they are photographed leaving a restaurant hand in hand, and the next they are inside rooms most people will never enter, surrounded by movie stars, fashion royalty, and actual royalty. That contrast is the real story. It is not just that Taylor and Travis had a big night in London. It is that they did it in a way that perfectly captures how their relationship now exists across several realities at once. Pop culture spectacle, real personal loyalty, luxury social access, and a growing sense that their private life is moving towards something much bigger. Vogue L, People the Timeline matters because it shows that this was not one accidental sighting or one random social appearance. According to multiple reports, Taylor and Travis spent the evening moving through London with intention. Their first notable public stop was Gymkhana, the celebrated Indian restaurant in Mayfair, where they dined with cinematographer Reena Yang. That detail may sound small at first, but it actually says a lot. This was not just a celebrity dinner for cameras. Yang has real professional history with Taylor, having collaborated on projects including All Too Well, the short film, Lavender Haze, Bejeweled, and Antihero. So right away, the night carried a personal and creative undertone, not just a social one. They were not bouncing around London looking to be seen. They were sharing time with someone from Taylor's artistic world before heading into the theater district to support Sadie Sink, another person tied closely to Taylor's work and emotional history. That sequence gives the evening depth. First came dinner with a creative collaborator, then a theater visit to cheer on a friend, and only after that came the glamorous birthday party that turned the whole night into headline material. In other words, the wildness of the night was built on top of something more grounded. Before it became a tabloid-worthy social marathon, it was a night of connection. That is important because it changes the tone of the story. It was not empty celebrity hopping. It was a social evening anchored by actual relationships, and that is what makes the later party scenes feel more believable and more interesting. Taylor and Travis were not just dropping in for aesthetics. They were moving through a network of people who genuinely belonged to their orbit. Vogue People L, even the fashion details reinforced the mood of the evening. Reports described the couple in coordinated dark looks, stylish without being costume-like, polished without feeling stiff. Taylor wore a black floral Zimmermann dress with a tailor jacket and a pastel-toned handbag, while Travis wore a gray Louis Vuitton suit with a black top. Those details matter in celebrity storytelling because clothing often communicates how a couple wants to be read. This was not red carpet glamour, not camp, not flash for the camera's maximalism. It was sleek, grown, and controlled. They looked like two people who knew they would be seen, but were dressing for themselves, for the city, and for the kind of rooms they were entering. The hand-holding as they left dinner gave the images their emotional center. It is easy to dismiss couple photos as routine publicity snapshots, but these particular pictures did more than show that they were still happy. They captured a kind of confidence. There was no frantic energy, no evasive weirdness, no sense of strain. They appeared settled. And that calm matters because by now almost everything they do is interpreted through the lens of pressure. Wedding talk, fan speculation, nonstop media attention, intense public curiosity. Yet the visuals from that restaurant exit suggested ease. They looked like a couple moving through a regular date night, just under wildly irregular circumstances. That is part of why people respond so strongly to them. Their relationship seems to absorb extraordinary levels of fame and still present itself in ordinary emotional cues. A hand squeeze, a shared meal, a theater visit, a late-night party. The bigger the machine around them gets, the more potent those small signals become. Vogue People L. The theater stop may actually be the most emotionally meaningful part of the whole night. Taylor and Travis did not just show up at any West End production. They attended Romeo and Juliet starring Sadie Sink at the Harold Pinter Theater, and Sink is not some distant celebrity acquaintance. She has been closely linked to Taylor through All Too Well, the short film, a project that became one of the most emotionally resonant works in Taylor's visual career. Sadie was not simply cast in that film. She became part of one of the most beloved chapters in Taylor's storytelling universe. So when Taylor and Travis showed up to support Sadie's West End debut and reportedly gave her a standing ovation, it landed as more than a celebrity outing. It felt like an act of loyalty. That matters because loyalty has become one of the defining themes in the public perception of Taylor's adult life. People watch not just who she dates, but who stays in her world, who earns her support, who appears during milestones, and who she shows up for when no giant publicity campaign requires it. The fact that Travis was there beside her adds another layer. He was not accompanying Taylor into a generic cultural event. He was stepping fully into a friendship that predates him, a creative relationship that means something to her. That suggests comfort, investment, and integration. It is one thing to be seen at dinners or games together. It is another thing to move naturally through each other's deeper social and creative histories. By all accounts, they stayed for the show, applauded at the end, and exited through a crowd of onlookers. Those scenes matter because they portray Travis not just as Taylor's fiancé, but as someone now participating in the emotional architecture of her life. People vogue Elle, and then the night swung from heartfelt to surreal. After dinner and theater, Taylor and Travis reportedly joined the celebration for Papi Delevingne's 40th birthday, a party that instantly elevated the evening from stylish London date night to pure social theater spectacle. Papi Delevingne occupies a particular place in British society and fashion culture. She is not just famous by association. She has long been part of a specific upper-tier social scene where fashion, aristocratic energy, old money polish, and celebrity access overlap. So when Taylor and Travis appeared at that party, they were not just showing up at another celebrity birthday. They were entering a room that symbolized a very particular kind of transatlantic glamour. Reports said the gathering included people like Cara Delevingne, Lily James, Nikki Hilton Rothschild, and Georgia May Jagger, which already makes it the sort of guest list that reads like an entire entertainment and style ecosystem compressed into one place. But what pushed the story into another category was the presence of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. At that point, the narrative stopped being only about stars and became about status, proximity, and the strange flexibility of elite modern fame. Because once Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are mingling in the same private celebration as members of the British royal family, the symbolism gets bigger. This is no longer simply America's most talked about couple traveling abroad. It is that they now move with enough ease and legitimacy to occupy rooms where cultural power, media fascination, and social hierarchy all overlap. That is why this party hit so hard in the coverage. It turned their night into a visual metaphor for the scale of their life now. People L, the royal angle, is especially interesting because it says less about monarchy in the formal sense and more about how celebrity culture now functions. Taylor and Travis were not attending a state event or some official palace engagement. They were at a fashionable private celebration where royals, actors, models, and socialites were all part of the same ecosystem. That is the modern elite social map in one image. The daughters of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson showing up alongside entertainment figures makes clear that the walls between institutions have thinned. Royalty, Hollywood, high fashion, music superstardom, professional sports fame, and ultra-private hospitality spaces are all part of the same prestige circuit now. For Taylor and Travis, that matters because their relationship has already blurred categories in the United States. She represents a near unmatched level of music fame. He represents one of the most charismatic and marketable faces in American sports. Together, they already operate like a crossover event. In London, that crossover expanded again. They were no longer just pop and football. They were suddenly adjacent to old British status systems, too. That does not mean they are trying to be royals or chasing validation from that world. It means their celebrity has reached a point where those worlds meet them naturally. And that is a powerful thing to understand if you are analyzing why stories like this explode. People are not only reacting to romance, they are reacting to scale. They are watching two people who began as a singer and a tight end move through a set of rooms that look less like ordinary fame and more like a 21st century version of global cultural aristocracy. People L then came the after-party layer, which is where the mythology of the evening really grew. Reports said the celebration continued at 77 London, a highly exclusive private members club. This is the kind of place where the scarcity of images becomes part of the allure. The more private the venue, the more imaginative the public becomes. And that seems to be exactly what happened here. Articles noted that the party carried on late, and because venues like this tend to enforce privacy and discourage uncontrolled filming, the available visuals are limited. Ironically, that lack of footage only intensifies the fascination. If dozens of clips had flooded the internet, the event might have felt more ordinary. Instead, because people only got fragments and secondhand details, the night took on the quality of a whispered legend. Taylor and Travis were reportedly among the late departures, and the picture painted by the coverage was of a couple genuinely enjoying themselves, holding hands, laughing, dancing, staying deep into the evening instead of making a quick symbolic appearance and slipping away. That image matters. In celebrity life, there is a huge difference between attending something and inhabiting it. From the way the evening has been described, they did not seem to treat this as an obligation. They seem to have lived in the night. That is what makes the moment feel vivid. Not that they stood in a room for 20 minutes next to famous people, but that they reportedly relaxed enough to stay, socialize, and let the night unfold. It becomes a story not of duty or branding, but of release. That is rare currency for people whose every move is usually strategic, scrutinized, or monetized. People, that is why the London Night has resonated so strongly with fans and entertainment media. It captures the fantasy of what people imagine celebrities should look like, while still holding on to enough emotional familiarity to feel human. Most people cannot imagine ending a Thursday night in a private club in London after watching a friend's play and celebrating with princesses. But they can understand the emotional structure underneath it. A couple goes to dinner, they support a friend's big moment, they keep the night going with people they like, they unwind, they flirt, they dance, they stay out later than planned, strip away the excess, and it is a classic relationship night. Add back in the excess, and it becomes irresistible. That duality is the core of Taylor and Travis as a public phenomenon. They are fascinating not only because they are powerful and glamorous, but because they keep reenacting ordinary relationship beats inside extraordinary circumstances. The more public their life becomes, the more meaning people assign to every private seeming decision. A dinner is not just dinner, a standing ovation is not just applause, a party is not just a party. Everything becomes evidence of mood, seriousness, intimacy, stability, and future plans. That level of projection can be overwhelming, but it is also part of why moments like this become so culturally sticky. London was not just an outing, it was a narrative event. It let people see romance, access, friendship, and status playing out in real time through one carefully observed night. Vogue, people, people. The wedding speculation hovering around all this is part of what gives the story its added heat, but it is also where the original script benefits from more careful framing. There is no question that reports have heavily connected this period of their relationship to wedding anticipation. People in Vogue both referred to the couple as engaged, and coverage around Travis's recent comments made clear that wedding planning is one of the central ways the media is now reading everything they do. But the families themselves have remained notably tight-lipped. Kelce has bluntly said she does not have details, and Kelce has similarly avoided revealing much. So the strongest way to tell this story is not to act as if every date or logistics detail has been officially confirmed. It is to say that the relationship is clearly moving through a pre-wedding phase in the public imagination, and Travis himself has now fed that narrative in a rare, unmistakable way. That is more powerful anyway. If you overstate specifics, you risk turning a compelling real-life build-up into fan fiction. If you stay disciplined, the tension becomes stronger. We know the engagement is real, we know the wedding is upcoming, we know the family is staying quiet, we know Travis is excited, and we know that this London night happened against that backdrop. That is enough to create a tremendous amount of narrative energy without needing to push beyond what has been publicly supported. In other words, the magic here is not in pretending we know every detail of the guest list for the eventual ceremony. It is in recognizing how every public move now feels like a prelude. People Vogue Travis's "I can't wait" moment on New Heights is one of the reasons this whole London story lands with extra force. During the conversation with Rory McIlroy, the golf star compared the surreal feeling of a room filled with meaningful people to what Travis would experience at his wedding. According to People, Travis grinned and answered simply, "I can't wait." It was a short reply, but that brevity is exactly what made it feel real. Overly polished celebrity comments often land flat because they feel managed. This did not. It sounded like a reflex. It sounded like a man being hit with the emotional reality of something he is actually anticipating. And because Travis is usually playful, quick to joke, and comfortable redirecting the energy of an interview, that tiny burst of direct sincerity stood out. He did not offer a speech. He did not give a carefully crafted soundbite about how blessed he feels. He just said the simplest true thing available. He cannot wait. That is why fans seized on it. In a media environment crowded with evasive celebrity language, blunt enthusiasm reads as intimacy. It tells people there is no reluctance behind the scenes, no cooling off period, no sign of him shrinking away from the magnitude of what is coming. If anything, the opposite. The moment suggested he is emotionally leaning toward it. That matters because public fascination with this relationship has always been fueled by visible mutual enthusiasm. Taylor cheers loudly for him. He speaks proudly about her. They seem to enlarge, not dim, in each other's presence. This quote fit neatly into that pattern. People, the public hunger for wedding clues also explains why even the smallest side comments now get turned into major content moments. Once a couple reaches this stage, every remark becomes evidence. Every family joke becomes analysis material. Every date night becomes a clue board. That is why Travis's excitement, though brief, has been amplified so aggressively. It is also why Kelce's public refusal to share details is meaningful. In an April episode of her own podcast, as quoted by People, she told viewers to stop asking her and Kelce about the upcoming nuptials because nobody was telling them anything. That kind of response is revealing in its own way. It says the circle around the couple understands how intense the curiosity is, and it confirms that there is a real effort to keep whatever plans exist under tight control. If you step back, that makes the London night even more interesting. Here is a couple that appears to be protecting one of the biggest private events of their life with serious discipline. yet they still allowed themselves an evening that looked vivid, social, and joyfully chaotic from the outside. They are not hiding from life. They are choosing what gets protected and what gets shared by accident or by circumstance. That distinction is important. Privacy does not always mean disappearance. Sometimes it means selective visibility. Taylor and Travis seem to have reached that stage where they can be photographed leaving Gymkhana and still keep the larger architecture of their life locked down. That is a very hard balance to strike, and it may be one of the reasons their relationship continues to feel unusually stable under pressure. People, another part of your original script that works well and deserves expansion is the idea that Taylor is broadening Travis's world in practical, almost funny ways. The food conversation on New Heights may seem minor compared with wedding anticipation and royal adjacent parties, but it is actually one of the most relatable threads in the entire story. Jason Kelce said Taylor had expanded Travis's palate, Kylie agreed that he had become more adventurous with food, and Travis himself joked that he tries to be more of a man around her by eating foods he had not tried before. E added broader context by noting that Travis had previously admitted he remained picky but was opening up, including saying he was in on a light curry. These details are charming because they translate massive celebrity into everyday relationship language. People fall in love and start trying different restaurants. They begin borrowing each other's habits. They discover new tastes, new playlists, new weekend routines, new ways of carrying themselves. That is one of the oldest relationship patterns there is. So when Travis jokes that Taylor is getting him to try food outside his comfort zone, it grounds the relationship in something ordinary and believable. It also helps explain why the Gymkhana stop matters beyond aesthetics. The London dinner is not just another nice restaurant appearance. In the broader story being told around them, it becomes live-action proof of an evolving Travis Kelce. The guy once known for a limited palate now sitting down in Mayfair at a Michelin-starred Indian restaurant with Taylor and one of her key creative collaborators. That is not just a meal, it is character development, and fans love that kind of evidence. People eat! Online Vogue, that food thread also symbolizes something larger. Taylor and Travis do not appear to be flattening each other into familiar roles. Instead, the public story keeps suggesting expansion. He is not simply the athlete orbiting the singer. She is not simply the superstar orbiting the football world. Each seems to be absorbing pieces of the other's universe. He goes deeper into theater nights, creative friendships, and more adventurous dining. She has spent significant time around football culture, family banter, game day rituals, and the Kelce orbit. When a relationship is compelling at scale, it is often because people can see growth happening in both directions. Nobody wants to watch two people remain static and merely photogenic. The reason audiences get invested is because they detect transformation. The food comments are a playful example of that, but they are not trivial. They are shorthand for a deeper truth. Taylor has not just entered Travis's life as a glamorous accessory, and he has not just entered hers as a handsome headline. They appear to be changing each other's routines, expectations, and ease with unfamiliar spaces. That is the kind of change that makes relationships feel durable. A glamorous date night is fun to look at, but adaptive growth is what convinces people a couple might actually last. And in that sense, the London evening felt almost symbolic. Here was Travis moving fluidly through Indian fine dining, a West End play linked to Taylor's artistic history, and a deeply British social gathering with fashion heavyweights and princesses. Whether consciously or not, he looked like someone who is now comfortable being stretched by the scale and texture of her world. People E! Online L, Kylie Kelce's podcast moments belong in this larger narrative too because they add a crucial family texture around all the glamour. Her story about nearly getting into a fistfight with a grown man in a stadium after he insulted Jason is funny on the surface, but what it really does is reinforce the personality of the Kelce family brand. Loyal, blunt, energetic, and a little chaotic in an endearing way. According to the report, Kylie said she has more than once told rowdy people in family sections to cut it out, and admitted one of those moments almost escalated into a physical confrontation. That is hilarious partly because it is so vivid, but also because it fits neatly into the public understanding of this family. They are not polished in the sterile celebrity way. They are emotionally legible, they protect each other, they joke hard, they talk like real people, they let rough edges show. For Taylor, whose public life has long involved intense curation simply because the scale of her fame almost demands it, the Kelce environment may offer a different kind of energy. A family culture where affection is loud, loyalty is aggressive, and humor is constant. When people talk about why this relationship appears to work, that dynamic often sits in the background. Travis comes from a system that seems to metabolize fame without becoming fake. Kylie's stadium story sounds like a side anecdote, but in a broader analysis, it becomes part of the emotional ecosystem Taylor is joining. Behind the luxury hotels, famous guest lists, and designer clothes, there is also a family where someone will apparently threaten to throw down in a stadium if they feel one of their own is being disrespected. Yahoo! The Mother's Day exchange on New Heights adds even more warmth because it reveals how this family handles ordinary domestic life with the same comic directness. When Travis asked Kylie if there were any special plans for Mother's Day, she said no with a straight face, and Jason reacted with immediate confusion, insisting they always do something. When she described her ideal day, it was beautifully unglamorous. Brunch at a restaurant, food she would not have to clean up, and about 20 minutes of silence. That is the kind of detail that lands because it is painfully relatable. It cuts through celebrity abstraction and reminds people that beneath all of this, there are still children, dishes, fatigue, marriage jokes, and a mother who just wants a little peace. Jason grabbing a notepad and asking follow-up questions made the exchange even funnier because it exposed the classic husband panic of realizing planning should maybe have started earlier. In the context of a week where Travis's wedding comment was being picked apart and London nightlife was being turned into spectacle, this domestic little scene had real value. It grounded the whole Kelce ecosystem again. The family is not just wedding buzz and high-visibility romance. It is also brunch requests and practical negotiations about where silence can physically happen when there are 4 young kids in the house. That blend of giant fame and deeply normal family comedy is part of what makes the wider story so watchable. People, when you layer Kylie's protective intensity and Jason's household cluelessness next to Travis's growing ease in Taylor's world, the bigger picture gets clearer. This is not just a celebrity couple story anymore, it is a merging of culture story. Taylor comes with an immense creative history, a loyal group of longtime collaborators, a global audience trained to read symbolism into everything, and a public life shaped by both extreme scrutiny and extraordinary discipline. Travis comes with a family unit that has become beloved largely because it feels emotionally loud, unpretentious, and durable. The London night brought those energies together in a way that felt unusually cinematic. On one side, you have West End theater, Poppy Delavigne's glamorous birthday, and elegant fashion world London. On the other side, you have the ongoing New Heights energy, wedding jokes, food jokes, family section confrontations, brunch confusion, and total refusal to become too polished. Taylor and Travis sit at the center of those tones, and that may be why people remain so fascinated. Their relationship feels both elevated and unserious in the right ways. Not unserious about commitment, but unserious about performance. They move through exclusive spaces without sounding like they belong to a different species. That is very hard to manufacture. Many celebrity couples can look dazzling, but few can also support an entire secondary narrative about sourdough bread, light curry commandments, and family section fights. That secondary narrative is what keeps the glamour from feeling empty. People Yahoo the Sadie Sink angle deserves one more look because it adds an emotional legitimacy to the London trip that stops it from feeling like a random string of famous locations. Sadie's performance in Romeo and Juliet was not just another show on a packed cultural calendar. For Taylor, this was somebody tied to one of her most personal and artistically successful visual works. Sadie herself has spoken in past interviews about Taylor's significance in her life and how meaningful the collaboration on All Too Well was. So Taylor appearing for her West End milestone reads as a meaningful gesture, not a convenient photo op. And because Travis was beside her, this becomes one of those moments where the public sees him participating in her emotional continuity. That is worth emphasizing because celebrity partners often get reduced to accessories in each other's stories. But the more this relationship unfolds, the more the interesting part is not the accessory function, but the integration function. Travis is not just standing next to Taylor while cameras happen. He is appearing in scenes that connect to her history, her artistry, and her old friendships. That suggests confidence. It suggests trust. It suggests he does not need every shared public moment to be centered on his comfort zone. And that, quietly, is one of the strongest signs of real partnership. Anyone can attend a party. It takes something slightly different to happily walk into a space that belongs more fully to your partner's past and still look at ease there. People Vogue Rena Yang's presence at dinner supports that same idea. A lot of casual readers may have skimmed over her name, but in narrative terms it matters. Yang is part of Taylor's visual creative world, tied to major music video and film work that helped define recent eras of her artistic image. So the Gymkhana meal was not just glamorous dining. It linked the entire evening back to Taylor's professional and creative community. That matters because it subtly contradicts the lazy version of celebrity romance storytelling, where women are often framed as disappearing into their partner's orbit once the engagement spotlight intensifies. This London itinerary suggests the opposite. Taylor's creative friendships remain active, her collaborators remain close, her artistic life is still very much in motion. Travis is not replacing that world, he is moving through it with her. That is one of the most compelling things about this phase of their relationship. It does not feel like contraction. It feels like expansion. The ring, the wedding chatter, and the global attention have not seemed to shrink her universe. If anything, London showed how many overlapping circles remain open. The creative one, the friendship one, the fashion social one, and now the shared couple identity moving through all of them. This is also why the phrase double life, which your original script leans into, works so well if it is handled carefully. It does not mean secrecy in a scandalous sense. It means simultaneity. Taylor and Travis appear to be living in 2 emotional registers at once. In one register, they are doing things any couple in a serious season of life would do. Seeing friends, supporting milestones, joking about food, looking forward to the wedding, keeping family close, protecting boundaries. In the other register, they are doing all of that while crossing continents, entering elite private venues, inspiring tabloid frenzies, and becoming the subject of near-continuous online commentary. The surreal part is not just where they go, it is that their ordinary relationship motions now occur inside extraordinary logistics. Most couples can decide to stay out late and nobody writes 3 articles about it. Most couples can support a friend in a play and nobody zooms in on the standing ovation. Most couples can try curry and nobody turns it into evidence of emotional growth. Taylor and Travis live in a world where every small act gets magnified, but the acts themselves remain fundamentally recognizable. That is what makes their story durable rather than just flashy. Underneath the scale, the behavior still resembles love, support, curiosity, humor, and shared momentum. Vogue people, if you are expanding this into a powerful narration, one of the strongest analytical points is that the London outing functioned like a trailer for the life they are building rather than just a wild night on its own. Think about what the evening contained: private dinner with a trusted collaborator, public support for a close friend's artistic milestone, glamorous entry into a high-status social event, easy movement through international celebrity circles, and then late-night privacy in a members-only space. That combination almost reads like a forecast. It suggests a future in which their married life may involve exactly these kinds of switches: intimacy to visibility, art world to sports world, American fame to European high society, controlled appearances to unseen private joy. In that sense, the story is not simply look how crazy this night was. It is look at the complexity of the life they already navigate together. And that is what makes the relationship feel strangely adult despite all the frenzy around it. Adult relationships are not proven by how loudly people declare them. They are proven by how well people move through layered realities together. London showed them doing that with remarkable ease. The scarcity of visual evidence from the later part of the night is part of why the story has such legs. In a culture where almost everything ends up filmed, documented, memed, and dissected within minutes, there is something intoxicating about an event that remains partly unseen. Reports say the private club environment limited what escaped onto the public internet, and that means audiences are left with fragments: arrivals, exits, names, impressions, and a handful of descriptions. Scarcity creates narrative oxygen. It leaves room for fantasy, and fantasy is the engine of celebrity storytelling. If we had endless footage of Taylor and Travis standing under club lighting for 4 hours, the event would become ordinary very quickly. Instead, we have just enough to know it happened and not enough to flatten it. That makes it feel larger. It also mirrors the couple's broader strategy, whether intentional or not. The less people truly know, the more symbolic every known moment becomes. The London night is a perfect example, because not everything that was seen gained weight. And maybe that is the real reason this story has stayed so magnetic. It is not just because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were glamorous in London. It is because the evening seemed to reveal a couple who can still surprise people even after months of saturation coverage. The public thought it knew the broad shape of their life by now: football, music, occasional public dates, wedding rumors, podcast jokes, strategic privacy. Then suddenly they are in London, dining with a cinematographer from Taylor's inner creative circle, applauding Sadie Sink in the West End, and ending up at a birthday celebration crowded with fashion figures and royal names. The narrative expanded again. The relationship got bigger, stranger, and somehow more believable at the same time. That is a hard combination to pull off, but they keep doing it. They remain aspirational and oddly down-to-earth, rare and accessible, stage-managed and spontaneous. That is why people keep watching. Vogue people. So if this story is told in a stronger, more expansive way, the ending should not just say that they had an unforgettable night. It should say that London gave the public a glimpse of the architecture of their relationship at this stage. There is intimacy in it, but not isolation. There is status in it, but not stiffness. There is anticipation in it, but not panic. There is loyalty to old friends, openness to new experiences, and enough chemistry that even simple details like a handhold or a grin on a podcast keep fueling the larger myth. Travis saying, "I can't wait" matters because it sounds like a man stepping toward the future. Taylor showing up for Sadie matters because it reflects continuity and devotion. The Gymkhana dinner matters because it shows her world and his world blending in real life. The Delavigne party matters because it proves they can move through the highest level of social spectacle without looking disconnected from each other. Kylie's stories matter because they remind everyone that behind this massive fame machine, there is still a loud, funny, fiercely protective family culture surrounding them. Put all of that together and the London night stops being just gossip. It becomes character evidence. It becomes relationship evidence. It becomes one of those rare celebrity stories that actually deepens the central narrative instead of merely decorating it. People, Yahoo. And that is why this moment lands with such force. On paper, it is a celebrity couple having a packed evening out in London. In practice, it is a portrait of how love, fame, friendship, family, and power now swirl around Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the exact same time. They can support a friend at the theater and also end up in the same social current as princesses. They can joke about curry and wedding anticipation on a podcast while still keeping the most important plans sealed off from public view. They can look like the most normal couple in the world for 1 minute and like the center of a global culture map the next. That tension is the whole story. Not just that they went out, not just that famous people were nearby, not just that the wedding is coming. The story is that they are learning how to live inside an almost impossible scale of attention without losing the human rhythms that make the relationship feel real. London did not create that truth, but it illuminated it. And that is why this night will likely be remembered as more than just a glamorous detour. It felt like a preview of their next era, connected, protected, internationally mobile, surrounded by people from every layer of fame, and still most compelling in the smallest moments when the spectacle falls away and all you really see is a couple enjoying the fact that they get to do life together. Vogue, people, people, people.